It was a misty day in the third month of spring. Her maid Xiaodi brought her daily medicine just as usual. He Yan took the bowl, downed the bitter broth in one gulp, and announced that she wanted to go for a walk. Xiaodi looked at the blind woman, whose facial features still carried a heroic martial edge, and tried to stop her. "Madam, it's raining outside." But Yan had long grown accustomed to a life without eyes. "No matter," she said mildly. "I'll hold an umbrella." Only occasionally did she miss the days when she could see. Like right now, she could hear the raindrops rippling the surface of the pond, and she could sense the red koi fighting for food, but she could see none of it. She sat quietly in the pavilion, her mind drifting back to her youth in the military. It had been a life of wild, unbridled freedom, a stark contrast to the caged bird she had become today. Approaching footsteps broke her reverie. Thinking it was her maid, she called out, "Xiaodi?" No one answered, but the footsteps stopped right in front of her. Yan instantly knew who it was. "Concubine. What business do you have here?" Wanru's mocking voice rang out. "Good ears, madam. I only came to tell you that the doctor who checked your eyes the other day also took your pulse. You are pregnant." Yan froze. A flicker of genuine joy swelled in her chest as the words registered. But before she could speak, Wanru let out a theatrical sigh. Such a pity this child cannot be kept. For Yan, who had been kept in the dark about so much, a child was her greatest weakness. Furious, she slammed her hand on the stone table and stood up. "Wanru, you bold!" Her voice dripped with gloating triumph. "Oh, I'm not the only one saying this. General, he agrees." The moment the words General He left her lips, Yan's brows furrowed. A conspiracy unspooled in her mind. "What do you know?" Wanru sneered. "I know everything I should know, and everything I shouldn't. The great secret of the Flying Goose General. How could the He family or the Shu family ever tolerate your continued existence? 19 years ago, the He family's noble title was unstable. 2 sisters-in-law gave birth at the same time. The first madam had a son, He Rufei, and the second madam had a daughter, He Yan. The title was supposed to pass to He Rufei, but the boy was born sickly. Doctors claimed he wouldn't live past childhood. Desperate to keep their nobility, the family took a massive risk. They had He Yan step in. Dressed as a boy, her face forever hidden behind a mask, He Yan took He Rufei's name and joined the army. She fought until her military merits piled high, eventually receiving the title of Flying Goose General from the Emperor himself. But her cousin, He Rufei, didn't die. He rested in a temple and survived to the age of 18. And so, everything was returned to its rightful place. He Rufei met the emperor and claimed the title of general. Meanwhile, He Yan was quietly married off to Shu Jiheng, a scholar of the Hanlin Academy. Feeling that her words hadn't cut deep enough, Wanru delivered the final blow. "That bowl of medicine that poisoned your eyes? It was ordered by the elders of your own clan. Only the dead can keep a secret." Yan threw her head back and let out a tragic booming laugh. Wanru was unnerved by the sudden laughter. "Shouldn't you be crying? What are you laughing at?" Yan turned her sightless eyes toward the concubine, her voice cold and measured. "I'm laughing at your stupidity. I have to die to keep this secret." "Now that you know it, do you really think they'll let you live?" Panic flashed in Wanru's eyes, but she quickly masked it with bravado. "Stubborn till the end! Men, kill her!" A group of guards surged into the pavilion, surrounding the blind woman. But Yan leaped into action, snapping a nearby willow branch to use as a weapon. These men thought she was an easy target because of her blindness. They had forgotten that she was the true battle-hardened Flying Goose General. Even blind, she could take on 10 men at once. With a flick of her wrist, the willow branch lashed out. The guards were sent flying to the ground in unison. Seeing this, Wanru cursed furiously. "Useless trash, you can't even beat a blind woman." Yan stood tall in the pouring rain, her aura explosive. "Even without my eyes, you rats are no match for me." But a second later, a splitting headache struck her. Her chest tightened and her 5 senses vanished entirely. She stumbled, coughing up a massive pool of dark blood. In a daze, she realized the truth. The ginger tea Shouty had just given her was spiked. Now, completely senseless and paralyzed, she was truly helpless. "Grab her now, you fools!" Wanru shrieked. Someone yanked Hee-yan by the hair, dragging her toward the pond. They shoved her head violently beneath the surface. The freezing water swallowed her neck. She couldn't speak, her body sinking like a stone. As she drowned, her life flashed before her eyes. While other girls her age were playing and being pampered, she was raised as a boy, training martial arts in the bitter rain. While others slept warmly in their beds, she studied military strategy by candlelight. She enlisted at 14, facing blades and blood, building her fame battle by battle. The times she spent drinking and fighting shoulder to shoulder with her soldiers were her fondest memories. She could almost hear the marching songs and the accents of her comrades reading letters from home. "I want to go home," she thought. "But I don't think I have a home anymore." When she woke up, she found herself in the body of a young girl. The girl was also named Hei-yan, but she was the frail, pampered daughter of a lowly city gate captain named Hei-sui. Looking at her reflection in the mirror, she smiled. It's good to be alive again. It's good to see the light of day. After sorting through the original owner's memories, she heard a rhythmic thwack, thwack coming from outside. She grabbed an umbrella and walked out. There, she saw a boy about her age, dressed much poorer than she was, chopping wood. It was Hei Yunsheng, her new younger brother. According to her memories, he had a hot temper, and their relationship was terrible. Hee-yan watched him chop for a moment before frowning. "If you chop like that, you won't finish before dark." Hei Yunsheng, completely unaware that his sister's soul had been swapped, flared up immediately. "If you're sick, go back inside. Don't come out here picking fights. If it weren't for you getting sick and costing us money, Dad wouldn't have to work extra. You've never chopped a piece of wood in your life, so stop bossing me around." He waited for her to scream and throw a tantrum, as she usually did. To his shock, she didn't curse at him. Instead, she bent down, took the axe from his hands, and said with a serious expression, "Watch." With a single, clean strike, the log he had been struggling with split perfectly in two. "You can't hold the axe near the head. Hold it near the end of the handle. Follow the grain of the wood. It saves energy," she instructed. Yunsheng stared at her blankly. His sister seemed completely different after her fever. But just then he noticed blood seeping from her palms. Anger and grievance welled up in him. He pointed at her accusingly. "You did that on purpose. Dad is going to see your hands and yell at me when he gets home." Hee-yan was just as shocked. One swing of an axe, and my hands are blistered and bleeding? Just how delicate is this body? Heavens, she thought. This frail shell can't support the path I need to walk. Fine, I'll just train. I'll start from scratch. Her maid Qingmei was far less calm. Panicking, she ushered Hee-yan back to her room and frantically bandaged her hands with their best medicine. The next morning, Hei-yan woke up before dawn. As Qingmei cleaned the room, she reported, "Master has already left for the training grounds. Young Master is eating breakfast in the hall." Hee-yan looked at the dazzling array of cosmetics on the vanity and sighed. A city gate captain made a pitifully low salary, yet this entire household was essentially starving itself just to support the He family young lady. Aside from basic food, all their money went into this pile of rouge and powder. "Used cosmetics can't be sold, but these silver hairpins can," Hee-yan muttered. She picked out a few pieces and handed them to the maid. "Take these to the pawn shop. We are poor right now, and we can't eat these." Qingmei obeyed and then served Hee-yan breakfast. A moment later, Hee-yan saw Yunsheng walking by with a woven basket on his back. "Where are you going?" she called out. Yunsheng hoisted his axe impatiently. Up the mountain to chop wood, obviously. Her eyes lit up. "I'll go with you." Before Yunsheng could argue, Qingmei interjected. "Miss, it rained on the mountain, the roads are slippery, and your hands haven't healed. What if you fall?" "Exactly," Yunsheng agreed quickly. "Dad scolded me enough for your hands yesterday. Don't cause trouble for me." Yan understood the boy's resentment, but no one could stop her once she made up her mind. Dad won't be home until tonight, and Qingmei has too many chores to follow me. Yunsheng, if you don't take me, I'll go by myself. Defeated, Yunsheng groaned. Fine, follow me if you want, but if you fall halfway and start crying, I'm not carrying you home. Yan beamed. Deal. Give me a minute to change into something practical, and we'll head up together. Practical clothes? Yunsheng thought, bewildered. Did the sun rise in the west? Surprisingly, Yunsheng didn't hear a single complaint or sniffle from his usually spoiled sister. It softened his opinion of her, just a little. This spot is fine. Just sit here for a while, Yunsheng said. I need to chop for about 2 hours. Yan nodded, untied the cloth bundle on her back, and pulled out an axe. With crisp, efficient movements, she chopped down a cluster of thick branches. Yunsheng almost jumped out of his skin. Was this really his delicate sister? What are you doing? Yan gave him a matter-of-fact look. Helping you. Soon, under Yunsheng's terrified, ghost-seeing gaze, Yan single-handedly chopped an entire bundle of firewood. During their break, she even shared her pastries with him, something the old, selfish Yan would never have done. Seeing she was sincere, he took them. Sensing the ice between them thawing, Yan smiled. Do you just chop wood every day? What do you do in the afternoons? Do you not go to school? I go back, make barley cakes, and sell them on the street, Yunsheng replied casually. School is out of the question. We don't have the silver. I'll just go to the martial arts field every day. After I pass the selection, I can join the city guard, maybe slowly work my way up to captain. It's not like I can become someone like the Flying Goose General. Even though we share the same surname, he's way cooler than me. You know the Flying Goose General? Yunsheng gave her a weird look. Who in the Great Wei Empire doesn't? He in the north, Xiao in the south. It's because of the Flying Goose General and the Wind and Cloud General that we have peace. Well, you won't become someone like that just by chopping wood and selling barley cakes. Tell you what, from tomorrow on, I'll chop wood and sell cakes with you every day. Yunsheng was horrified. Are you insane? Did that fever burn your brain? Without explaining, Yan stood up. If you're done eating, get back to work. Daylight is wasting. That afternoon, they set up their stall on the West Street to sell barley cakes. Yunsheng hadn't wanted his sister doing such lowly public work, but Yan couldn't care less. Her thoughts were interrupted by a greasy voice. Well, if it isn't the eldest Miss He, long time no see. Yan looked up to see a shifty-eyed, rat-faced man swaggering over, acting far too familiar. Oh my, selling cakes with the young master? How exhausting for you. Yan looked at him blankly, but Yunsheng was furious. Wang Jugui, stay away from my sister. Wang sneered at the boy. Brat, your sister doesn't mind, so why are you barking? He turned back to Yan, pulling out a small container with an oily smile. Miss He, I bought this rouge for you a few days ago. Would you do me the honor of accompanying me for a spring walk by the Sichuan River? She replied flatly, I have cakes to sell. Give the rouge to someone else. Wang Jugui froze. In the past, to get free trinkets, Yan would sweetly call him Brother Jugui. Today, she was entirely dismissive. Feeling humiliated, he sneered, What? Is the young lady still pining for young Master Fan? The man is getting married, why bother? Before he could finish, Yunsheng lunged forward and punched him square in the face, knocking him to the ground. Embarrassed to be floored by a kid, Wang looked at Yan, expecting her to apologize for her brother. Instead, she looked mildly amused. Wang Jugui was baffled. The siblings usually hated each other. Just you wait, he hollered. Meanwhile, Yan looked at her fiercely protective brother and realized he had real potential. He shouldn't be here selling cakes. He needed to be in a martial arts academy. Your strike just now wasn't bad, she noted thoughtfully. But your lower body is unstable. You need to practice your horse stance at home. Yunsheng rolled his eyes. You aren't a martial arts instructor. She didn't argue. Instead, she changed the subject. "Who is this young master fan?" Yunsheng glared at her. "You still have the nerve to ask? You thought you could marry into a rich family, but he was just playing with you. Rich kids always mess around. He's getting married now, and you actually went on a hunger strike over him?" With a few words, He-yan understood the situation. The original He-yan had fallen for a jerk, starved herself in despair, and inadvertently ended her own life. "We actually have something in common," she thought bitterly, both blind to the true nature of the people around us. Over the past few days of selling cakes, she had also gathered rumors about her past life. The word on the street was that the first madam of the Shu family had accidentally drowned. Her husband, Shu Jiheng, was reportedly bedridden with grief. The He family patriarch's hair had supposedly turned white overnight from sorrow, and the Flying Goose General, He Rufei, was personally handling his beloved cousin's 3-day funeral. The truth had been perfectly buried. He Yuansheng, He Yuanliang, He Rufei, Shu Zhiheng, He Wanru. She would visit every single one of them and take back what she was owed. But before she could unmask the truth, she had to survive. That night, He-yan stared at the meager pile of broken silver on the table. The pawned jewelry had barely yielded anything. She knew Qingmei was loyal and hadn't skimmed off the top. The jewelry was simply cheap. It wasn't nearly enough. She thought of the mountains of gold and jewels the emperor had gifted the Flying Goose General. If she could just grab one piece, it would solve all of this family's problems. She sighed heavily, finally understanding the saying, "A single copper coin can stump a hero." Moreover, chopping wood wasn't enough to recover her previous combat stamina. She wanted to go to the training grounds to spar, but she didn't know if her overprotective father would allow it. She blew out the candle and got into bed. "I'll figure it out tomorrow." The next afternoon, while setting up the stall, He-yan noticed Yunsheng bringing several extra baskets of cakes. "Can we really sell all of these?" Yunsheng nodded sagely. "The weather is getting warmer. There are more people out. We'll switch to selling something else in a few weeks." He-yan felt a surge of respect. This kid was carrying the weight of the household on his shoulders and actually knew how to run a business. As they got busy, Wang Jugui reappeared, this time flanked by a group of menacing, burly thugs. He slammed his hand on the stall, scaring their customers away. "What do you want?" Yunsheng shouted, rolling up his sleeves. With backup, Wang was full of bravado. "What do I want? You hit me yesterday. Did you really think I'd let that go? You want to fight? Bring it!" Yunsheng was ready to charge, but He-yan pulled him back. Seeing her, Wang put on a lecherous grin. "This brat doesn't know his place, but I'll give Miss He some face. If you agree to that spring walk with me, I won't lower myself to fight a child." He-yan held her furious brother back and pointed toward a secluded alley nearby. "Sure, let's go over there and talk." "No!" Yunsheng protested. "You can't go with them! They aren't good people!" He-yan lowered her voice. "Do you think I've been chopping wood with you for nothing? Relax. I'll be fine." She had been desperately needing target practice to test her recovering strength. These thugs were the perfect dummies. The group walked into the alley. Above them sat the famous Zuyu Pavilion, where the faint, elegant sound of stringed instruments drifted through the air. Suddenly, a blood-curdling scream echoed from the alley so loud it startled the musicians upstairs into silence. Passers-by peeked in to see Wang Jugui sitting in the dirt, bawling his eyes out and clutching a dislocated shoulder. He-yan tossed the container of rouge onto the ground. "Thanks for the gift, but I don't like your taste in powder. Remember not to give me things like this again." "What are you idiots doing?" Wang screamed at his hired muscles. "Beat this bitch!" He-yan cracked her knuckles and smiled sweetly at the groaning Wang. "You're going to regret that." The thugs assumed Wang's injury was a fluke. After all, she was just a fragile girl. Reality, however, was brutal. In minutes, the fragile girl had left them all lying in the dirt, covered in bruises. Wang Jugui's head spun as he lay next to his hired muscle. He couldn't understand how the vain, whiny Hee-yeon had turned into a monster who could take down 4 grown men. Seeing her walking toward him again, he scrambled onto his knees and bowed furiously. "Auntie, mercy! I was blind not to see Mantai. Please be the bigger person and let me go." Satisfied, Hee-yeon smiled. "We're all neighbors. Let's not play these kinds of jokes anymore. Yes, yes, of course. Thank you, boss." Wang blubbered. She had no idea that everything had been witnessed by someone sitting on the balcony of Zuyu Pavilion. Since when did the women in the capital become so fierce? A young man in yellow, Chung Li-su, marveled. "Uncle, should I go ask which family she belongs to? We could hire her as a guard. She fights better than Fei Nu." Before he could finish, his uncle flicked a tea lid with pinpoint accuracy, lodging it squarely into Chung Li-su's open mouth, silencing him. His uncle leaned back, his voice lazy but freezing cold. "Say one more word of nonsense and I'll throw you off this balcony." Down on the street, Yunsheng breathed a massive sigh of relief when he saw Hee-yeon return unharmed. Not seeing Wang Jugui anywhere, he asked, "Where are they?" "I reasoned with them," Hee-yeon said smoothly, and appealed to their emotions. "They left. They said they'll come apologize another day and won't do it again. By the way, do you have any clean clothes?" Yunsheng was confused. Why? She couldn't exactly tell him her plan, so she lied. "I just wanted to see if they need mending. I can help patch them up." He looked at her suspiciously. "Have you ever even held a needle?" She hadn't, but she forced a confident smile. "You underestimate me. Of course I have." After sending her brother away, she stole his clothes. Cross-dressing was second nature to her. With a quick adjustment to her hair and face, she walked out looking exactly like a fresh-faced young boy. The question she had asked Wang Jugui was simple. Which is the biggest casino in the capital? The He family was hopelessly poor. Selling cakes would never cover Yunsheng's tuition for a martial arts academy. Gambling was a cheap trick, but she had no other choice right now. In her past life, she was a terrible gambler. When she was the first lady of the Shu family, she lost 9 times out of 10 playing leaf cards with the other noblewomen. However, after going blind, she had developed extraordinary hearing to navigate the world. To train herself to identify locations by sound, she had used dice. Dice were simpler than cards, but the subtle collisions inside the cup required immense concentration to decipher. Now her hearing was impeccable. When she entered the Leighton Casino, her shabby clothes drew immediate sneers. A patron shoved her. "If you ain't gambling, brat, get out of the way." Hee-yeon shook her meager coin pouch, lowered her voice, and said, "I'm gambling." "Kid, you don't look like you have much," someone advised. "If you lose, no one is giving that money back." She smiled. "Just playing for fun." If Dad heard me say that, he'd cry blood, she thought. This is our entire life savings. The rattling of the dice stopped. The dealer slammed the cup down. Hee-yeon placed her bet. The crowd held its breath. To everyone's shock, the poor kid won. And then she won again. "You've got some luck, kid," a gambler muttered. "Take that money and go buy some decent clothes." A small pile of silver was pushed toward Hee-yeon. She smiled, pushing the entire pile back onto the betting table. Again. Armed with her freakish hearing, Hee-yeon played like she was possessed by the god of wealth. She won every single round. Soon the silver and banknotes piled so high in front of her that the mocking sneers turned into gasps of envy. Hearing the night watchman's bell outside, Hee-yeon packed up her winnings, ready to leave. Suddenly, an old man with a long beard called out, "Young master, one last game!" "Let's change the rules. No more betting on big or small. You seem to be an expert. Let's guess the exact number. If you win, all the jewels and banknotes on this table are yours." Hee-yeon looked at the glittering silver ingots. Deal. The crowd went wild, placing their own side bets. Guessing the exact number was incredibly difficult, so almost everyone bet on the dealer's side. Only a brave few bet on the lucky kid. The old man shook the cup. The casino fell dead silent. Hee-yeon closed her eyes, tracking the sharp, crisp collisions of the dice against the copper. Bang. The cup was slammed down, all eyes fixed on Hee-yeon. 2, 5, she said evenly. The cup was lifted. 2 dice sat squarely on the table, showing a 2 and a 5. The dealer stared in disbelief. The crowd erupted. He won! This kid is a monster! Master, please accept my bow. Take me as your disciple. Damn it, I lost everything betting against him. The bearded old man quickly masked his shock. He packed the massive pile of wealth into a bag and handed it to Heian, probing, "You have a brilliant memory, young master. Might I ask your esteemed name?" Heian laughed. "I'm just a nobody, not worth mentioning." She pushed through the crowd and slipped out the door. The moment she was gone, the old man gestured to a group of bruisers. "Follow him. Bring the silver back." Heian walked briskly through the empty, dark alleys. She knew the golden rule, a man is innocent, but harboring treasure is a crime. She had won too much. They were never going to let her walk away easily. Deep in a secluded alley, she stopped and glanced over her shoulder. "Stop sneaking around. You can't catch me anyway." Several casino thugs dropped down from the walls behind her. "Add us to the list, then," a voice barked from the front. A group of street thugs stepped out, blocking the exit. She was completely surrounded. "Stupid brat," one of the men sneered. "Didn't anyone teach you not to draw attention your first time at a casino?" "Since it was my first time, naturally, no one taught me," Heian replied calmly. Furious, the leader roared, "Still running your mouth? Get him!" Heian sighed. Casinos really have no honor. Thankfully, she had recovered enough strength for a decent brawl. She tightened her fists and charged. During the chaos, someone managed to grab her back, ripping a massive tear in her shirt. Heian gasped in genuine horror. It was Yunsheng's best, albeit faded, shirt. Seeing her distress, the thug laughed. "Worrying about your clothes? I'm going to beat you to death." They thought the kid would be easy prey, but they had kicked a steel plate. Heian moved like a slippery loach, impossible to catch, her strikes landing with military precision on their pressure points. In a matter of minutes, both groups of thugs were groaning on the ground. Heian crouched down to pick up the silver ingots that had spilled during the fight. As she scooped up the last few coins, a gentle, melodic voice echoed from the shadows. "Little brother, you dropped a piece of silver." Heian spun around. Standing there was a man who looked like an immortal banished from the heavens. He was breathtakingly elegant, a faint smile playing on his lips, holding out a piece of broken silver. Heian had sensed someone else in the alley before the fight began, but since they hadn't moved to attack, she assumed it was a bystander. She hadn't expected them to step out and offer her money. The poor boy in disguise stared at the immortal in a momentary daze. "Little brother?" the man in blue prompted gently. Snapping out of it, Heian took the silver. "Thanks." Without another word, she bolted. A servant stepped out of the shadows, joining the man in blue. "Fourth young master, that boy." "Probably just a passerby," Chuzhou said mildly. "Pay him no mind." He chuckled, as if recalling something amusing. "Quite sharp, though." That night, Heian slept deeply. She dreamt of her old life in the military camp, playing dice with her soldiers. She was losing miserably. "General, you lost again." One of the men roared with laughter. "Have you won a single game all night? Your gambling skills are trash. Piss off." Another soldier chimed in. "Haven't you heard the saying? Unlucky in love, lucky in the casino. Since the general's casino luck is dog shit, he must be an absolute conqueror in the battlefield of romance." "What do you know, you old bachelor?" In the dream, Heian laughed heartily. She woke up to someone shaking her. It was Qingmei. "Miss, what were you dreaming about? You were laughing so happily." Heian didn't answer, though the dream left her feeling a bit melancholic. She stretched. It really is a beautiful spring day. Suddenly, violent pounding rattled the front door. "Hey, Yan!" Yunsheng bellowed angrily. "The sun is high in the sky. Are we going or not?" I'm coming. Just wait a second." Yunsheng stomped in. "Why are you taking so long to—" His eyes landed on a shirt hanging over a chair. He let out a shriek of pure rage. Heian looked up, bewildered. "What's wrong?" Yunsheng pointed a trembling finger at the massive tear in his shirt. Is this how you patch clothes? Tears of grievance welled in his eyes. Do you know that's my only long shirt? What am I supposed to wear now? It's a misunderstanding. Hee-yeon tried to calm him down. Listen to me. What is there to explain? Seeing the tough kid cry, Hee-yeon softened her voice. If it's broken, we'll buy a new one. We'll go to the best tailor in the capital and get you a brand new shirt. One with embroidery. Don't cry, I didn't mean to. Yunsheng sniffled. Easy for you to say. We don't have any money. Who says we don't? Hee-yeon grinned and popped open a wooden chest on the table. We have plenty of silver. Yunsheng's eyes bulged out of his head. Where did you get this? He looked from the silver to the torn shirt to his sister. A horrifying thought crossed his mind. Did she sell herself? Hee-yeon flicked him on the forehead. Stop overthinking. I wore your clothes to the casino last night. Won a few rounds. Someone tried to cause trouble and your shirt got ripped in the scuffle. Since we have money now, we don't need to sell cakes today, Hee-yeon declared. Do you want to enroll in the academy, Yunsheng? Later that day, Hee-yeon put on a veiled bamboo hat, and the two siblings headed to the capital's training grounds. The moment Hee-yeon stepped inside, she couldn't take her eyes off the place. She had never been to the capital's training grounds in her past life. Looking at the weapon racks, a flood of memories hit her. She used to have a peerless sword named Green Wolf. It could slice through iron like mud. But she wasn't allowed to take it with her when she was married off. When she visited the He family after her wedding, she saw Green Wolf hanging from He Rufi's waist. When she questioned him, the family elders had stepped in. Rufei is the Flying Goose General now. If he doesn't have the sword, people will get suspicious. Besides, you're a woman now. You don't need it anymore. Hey, what's wrong? Yunsheng asked, noticing her dark expression. You look terrible. Hee-yeon snapped out of it and smiled. Nothing. She quickly added, Remember, when we see Dad, you can't blow my cover about the casino. Yunsheng didn't fully understand, but he nodded. They walked toward the horse track. Before they even got close, they heard a commotion. Their father, Hisui, was on horseback, trying to race a richly dressed young noble. A group of sycophantic servants cheered from the sidelines. Young master is amazing. Won 3 times in a row. Hisui was barely holding on, while the young noble kept intentionally steering his own horse to bump into Hisui's, clearly trying to buck the older man off. Yunsheng's heart leaped into his throat. Dad, he yelled. Hisui's horse bucked and thrashed for a long time before finally calming down. The noble dismounted, looking smug. Well, that concludes this round. Captain He, your skills are lacking. You can't even tame a horse. But I suppose you've improved. At least you didn't fall off and get trampled this time. He casually tossed a silver ingot onto the dirt. Here, your reward. The insult was glaring, yet Hisui bowed deeply, ignoring the mocking stares of the crowd, and bent down to pick up the silver from the dirt. He needed to save money for his daughter's dowry and his son's tuition. Having no other skills to offer, he sold his dignity to entertain rich brats for coin. Yunsheng had never seen his father act so subservient. Furious, he roared, Dad, why are you thanking him? Can't you see he's playing you for a fool? The young noble, young Master Zhao, looked at the furious boy with amusement. I was going to make your dad race me again, but I've changed my mind. You race me. If you do, I'll give you another ingot. Hisui immediately stepped in front of his son, smiling apologetically. My son has never ridden a horse, young master. Please allow me to continue practicing with you. But Zhao was insistent, demanding Yunsheng ride. The tense standoff was broken by a crisp, clear voice. How about I race you instead? Zhao frowned. And who are you? Me, Hee-yeon said smoothly. Just a horse tamer. Her calm confidence stunned Hisui, who immediately hissed, Yan, what nonsense are you spouting? But Hee-yeon kept her eyes locked on Zhao. Are you willing, young master? Wanting to look chivalrous, he feigned concern. "Miss, that horse is fierce. I would be heartbroken if you were injured." She vaulted onto the wild horse. The beast immediately reared back, letting out a furious neigh. "Yan Yan, get down!" Hisui screamed in terror. "You're going to fall! Do you have a death wish?" Instead of panicking, Hee-yan grabbed the horse's mane, leaned close to its ear, and whispered something incomprehensible. Miraculously, the wild horse stopped thrashing and stood perfectly still, docile as a kitten. The crowd was dumbfounded. Young Master Zhao laughed, masking his surprise. "I didn't expect the young lady to be an expert." "Very well, I'll ride with you." He mounted his own horse with practiced flair. Hee-yan smiled faintly beneath her veil. "Then be careful, young master." With a slap to the horse's flank, she shot off down the track, leaving a cloud of dust in her wake. Hisui stared, mouth agape. "Is this really my frail, delicate daughter?" He slowly turned his head to Yunsheng. Yunsheng threw his hands up. "Don't look at me. I have no idea when she learned to ride." The wild horse, previously untamable, moved under Hee-yan like the wind. Zhao was falling behind. Irritated that he was losing face to a woman, he whipped his horse viciously. The beast surged forward, closing the gap. "You better try harder, miss," Zhao laughed triumphantly. "You are so brave, young master," Hee-yan replied, feigning awe. "This is the first time someone has caught up to me." As she spoke, she casually pulled a short wooden stick from her belt. She had borrowed it from Yunsheng earlier and violently poked the rear of Zhao's horse. "Let's see how you like being bumped on a wild ride." The horse shrieked in shock and bolted frantically. Unprepared, Zhao was nearly thrown from the saddle. He yanked on the reins, but the panicked animal wouldn't stop. He bounced violently, terrified that one wrong move would send him flying to his death. "Stop! Stop it!" Zhao screamed, hugging the horse's neck and sobbing. "Somebody help me! Make it stop!" Further down the track, Yunsheng frowned. "What's going on? Why is that Zhao guy screaming for help?" Hisui watched in shock as the arrogant noble wailed like a child. Meanwhile, Hee-yan sat perfectly balanced on her speeding horse, freeing one hand to casually pick her ear. So loud. Figuring she had scared him enough and wanting to avoid a murder charge, she tapped her horse and pulled ahead. She leaped off smoothly, standing squarely in the path of Zhao's panicked horse, holding the wooden stick horizontally. The horse balked at the sudden obstacle, reared up, and halted. "Whoa!" Hee-yan commanded sharply. The animal stilled. She looked at the weeping man slumped over the saddle. "All right, you can get down now." Hee-yan bit the inside of her cheek to stop from laughing and put on an apologetic voice. "Oh my, that was terrifying. It's all my fault. If I hadn't insisted on racing, you wouldn't have been frightened. Please forgive me." "You traitorous beast!" Zhao shrieked. "You almost got me killed. I'm going to chop you to pieces and make jerky out of you." "This is a good horse," she said coldly. "Think twice, young master." Zhao sneered. "It's my horse. I can do whatever I want with it. I'm going to kill it, and I'm going to do it right here. Hold it down." He pulled a gleaming dagger from his belt. Hee-yan's grip on the wooden stick tightened. He raised the dagger, aiming for the horse's neck. Smack! Something struck Zhao's wrist with brutal force. The dagger clattered to the ground. Zhao hopped around, cradling his bruised hand and screaming, "Who the hell threw that?" "I did." Hee-yan felt a jolt of recognition at that voice. She turned to see two figures approaching on horseback. One was the young man in yellow from Zuyu Pavilion. The other was the supreme commander of the Right Army of the Great Wei Empire, Xiao Jue. Memories surged in Hee-yan's mind. Years ago, on a spring day much like this one, a handsome boy had looked down at her from a tree branch, his face full of annoyance but undeniably radiant. Xiao Jue, courtesy name Huai Jin, her former rival, her old classmate, and now the legendary Wind and Cloud General. Hee-yan quickly lowered her head, letting the bamboo veil shadow her face. Next to her, Yunsheng gasped in absolute awe. He had just met his hero. The arrogant young Master Zhao, who had been strutting around Hisui all day, instantly turned into a fawning dog. Commander Xiao, forgive my lack of manners. Xiaojue sat tall on his horse, looking down at Zhao with cold indifference. How much did you pay for this horse? Zhao was confused but answered honestly, 30 taels. Xiaogui tossed 2 silver ingots onto the ground. Zhao frantically waved his hands, smiling obsequiously. Commander Xiao, please, if you want the horse, I'll just give it to you. Xiaojue didn't even look at him. I do not accept unearned favors. Heian was just breathing a sigh of relief when Yunsheng eagerly ran forward, staring up at Xiaojue with sparkling eyes. Thank you for saving the horse, General. Saving a life is better than building a 7-story pagoda. You're amazing. Heian cringed inwardly. Yunsheng, even if you want to compliment your hero, that's not how you say it. Xiaojue is going to mock you mercilessly. The Xiaojue she knew was ruthless with his words. But to her surprise, Xiaojue didn't utter a sarcastic remark. He simply looked at the boy and asked, Do you like this horse? I do. Yunsheng answered honestly. It's yours, Xiaojue said. Yunsheng was too stunned to speak. Before he could thank him properly, Xiaojue and his companion in yellow had already ridden away. Yunsheng stared after them, starry-eyed. Heian walked up and patted his shoulder. Come back to Earth. The Wind and Cloud General just gave me a horse, Yunsheng whispered in disbelief. Well, you better lead it home, build a shrine for it, and burn some incense, Heian teased. Yunsheng glared at her. What do you know? If Commander Xiao hadn't stepped in, that Zhao guy would have killed it. The general truly is a chivalrous hero, drawing his blade to help the weak. All right, enough, Heian interrupted. Hisui, having finally recovered from his near heart attack, rushed over. Yan, when did you learn to ride? You scared your father to death. And why are you wearing a veil? Heian lied with a straight face. I learned a few tricks from a friend. As for the veil, it's the latest fashion in the capital. Doesn't it look nice, Dad? Like any doting father, Hisui bought it hook, line, and sinker. Yes, very beautiful, Yunsheng rolled his eyes. I can't believe he bought that terrible excuse. I should be used to his double standards by now. Elsewhere in the training grounds, Xiaojue and Cheng Lisu were riding out. That was hilarious, Cheng Lisu chirped. That girl on the horse secretly poked the other guy's horse to make it bolt. So fun! It's a pity she kept her head down. I didn't get to see her face. Should we go back? Xiaojue remained entirely unmoved. Go by yourself. She lowered her head right after looking at you. Maybe she was shy. Lisu sighed dramatically. First that girl fighting the thugs under the pavilion, now a girl who can tame wild horses. Why can't I meet one of them? Xiaojue looked at his whining nephew. If you don't shut up, I'm sending you back to the Cheng family. Lisu immediately switched to pouting. Don't be like that. You're my uncle, you can't abandon me. As they rode, they spotted a few men standing near the weapon racks. Leading them was the elegant man in blue. Isn't that Chu Zhao, the 4th young master of the Shijin estate? Lisu muttered. What's he doing here? Lisu flashed a bright smile. Brother Zilan, what brings you to the training grounds? Chu Zhao smiled back gracefully. Just taking a walk. I didn't expect to run into Commander Xiao and young Master Cheng. Are you two out enjoying the spring air? Of course, Lisu laughed. It'd be a crime to waste such beautiful weather. We'll be taking our leave now. Throughout the exchange, Xiaojue didn't say a single word to Chu Zhao. After they left, Chu Zhao's servant scoffed. That Wind and Cloud General is incredibly rude. Chu Zhao waved it off. Let it be. He is Xiao Huaijin after all. He looked toward the empty horse track, thinking about the race he had just witnessed from afar. A quiet chuckle escaped his lips as the pieces began to fall into place in his mind. During dinner that night, Hisui finally remembered to ask why his children had come to the training grounds. His daughter never visited such places. I wanted to talk to you about Yunsheng, Heian said. He's at the age where he should be in a martial arts academy. Practicing at home isn't the same as having a real master. The academies are accepting students right now. What do you think? Hisui looked at his son guiltily, clearing his throat. Yan, I've thought about this too. We're just a little short on silver. Once I get my monthly salary, I'll borrow the rest and… Don't worry about the money, Yunsheng interrupted proudly. He stood up and brought over a wooden box. When he opened it, the gleaming silver inside practically blinded Hisui. Yan, where did this come from? Hisui stammered. Yan didn't blink. Yunsheng went to the Letong casino and won it. Yunsheng spat a mouthful of porridge across the table. He whipped his head toward his sister, ready to scream betrayal, but she just winked at him. His luck was incredible, Yan continued smoothly. First time there, and he won big. I counted it. This will cover his tuition and feed us for years. Yunsheng's mouth opened and closed silently. What could he say? That she was the one gambling? His dad wouldn't believe it anyway. Considering she was doing this to send him to school, he gritted his teeth. Fine, I'll take the fall. I owe her. He puffed out his chest and turned to his dad. That's right, I won it. Dad, let's use it for my tuition. Hisui stared at him, his face darkening. You went to the casino and won this? Yep, Yunsheng said, oblivious to the impending storm. And it was your first time? Uh-huh. Hisui erupted. He flipped his bowl, grabbed a nearby laundry club, and roared, You unfilial brat! I work my fingers to the bone to feed you, and you go gambling? How can you face your dead mother? Yunsheng shrieked and bolted around the table, dodging the club. Dad, we're poor. I was just trying to help. And Mom wouldn't know if you didn't tell her. You dare talk back? Hisui chased him into the yard. Where did you learn to be such a degenerate? I'll break your legs. Sitting safely at the table, Yan quietly patted her chest. Phew, that was a close one. It was a good thing she made Yunsheng take the blame. If her dad had tried to beat her, her new combat reflexes might have kicked in, and she would have accidentally injured her own father. Now that would be unfilial. That night, lying in bed, Yan tossed and turned. She hadn't expected to run into Xiaojue today. She had lowered her head instinctively, afraid he would recognize her. But upon reflection, she realized she wasn't the old Heian anymore. Even if they stood face to face, he wouldn't know her. Furthermore, in her past life, she had always worn a mask around him. The world always claimed that the Flying Goose General and the Wind and Cloud General were bitter rivals, like fire and water. But that was just gossip. They were both young, brilliant tacticians who had joined the army early and earned the emperor's favor, so people naturally compared them. But as a 14-year-old girl, she had never harbored any animosity toward the young master of the Xiao family. Back then, He Rufei had been sent to Xiancheng Academy. It was the most prestigious academy in the capital, founded by the emperor's former tutor. Only the highest-ranking nobles attended. Her uncle had pulled strings to get her in, hoping she would make elite connections for the real He Rufei to use when he eventually returned. She had been thrilled. It was a chance to learn strategy and make friends, privileges usually denied to women. Her aunt had handed her a custom-made mask, warning her sternly, "Be careful. Do not let anyone discover your identity. If you are exposed, our entire family will be executed." And so, wearing a silver mask, she had walked into Xiancheng Academy. She arrived early on her first day. No one was around yet. In the courtyard, she saw a loquat tree, its branches heavy with golden, sun-ripened fruit. She thought, boys climb trees and steal fruit all the time. It's not unseemly. There were no poles around and the tree wasn't too high. She jumped, reaching for a particularly fat loquat. She missed. Undeterred, she jumped again, missed. She jumped over and over, failing every time until she was panting and sweating. Just as she was catching her breath, she heard a soft scoff from above. Startled, she looked up into the dense leaves. Sitting on a branch was the most beautiful boy she had ever seen, practically bathed in the spring sunlight. Xiaojue glanced down at her, plucked a loquat, and dropped it. Yan felt a rush of embarrassment, followed by shy excitement. Is he giving this to me? The boy flipped gracefully out of the tree, landing lightly on his feet. As he walked toward her, she stood frozen, unsure of what to say. Should I say thank you? Should I tell him he looks pretty? She nervously extended a hand. The thank! Before the second syllable left her mouth, Xiaojue walked right past her, not even glancing her way. Yan turned in bewilderment, watching him casually toss the golden loquat up and down in his hand as he strolled away, his relaxed posture silently mocking her presumption. As she approached the door, she heard a cheerful voice inside. I heard the He family's young master is starting today. Jing, have you seen him? Peeking through a crack in the window, she saw Xiaojue surrounded by other boys. I haven't seen the He family young master, Xiaojue's lazy voice drifted out. But I did see an incredibly short, stupid kid trying to jump for a loquat. Through the crack, Xiaojue's eyes shifted, locking onto hers as if he knew she was spying. That had been her very first meeting with Xiaojue,